Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J. Moore Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live, drop your comments and questions for my guest or myself into the comment box, and you'll see me turn my head from time to time to check and see what you're saying and address any questions you might have. On a recent trip to the International Fancy Food Show that was in New York, the first place I head is a section with emerging food and beverage companies. One of my finds I want to share with you is Sababa Foods. Middle Eastern flavors are rocking it now, and Amy Dell, this week's guest, created Sababa Food with authentic and high quality Middle Eastern flavors for modern cooks. Her debut product is Saturday Sauce, a Middle Eastern starter sauce. Great for the quick meal like a shashuka. Just put the sauce in the pan, heat it up, put in your eggs, and boom, it's done. It pairs well with fish, meats, grains, veggies, soups, stews, and dips. Inspired by her father, a former chef and restaurateur, Saturday Sauce is a real flavorful find, especially when short on time to cook. Let's bring in Amy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, Amy. It's great to see you. The last time I saw you, you were busy at your booth having people taste your wonderful Saturday sauce. And before I forget, people, you've seen it. Amy sent me some, and I did a shashuka and I posted it up on my Facebook page. So it's very quick. Um, Fancy Food Show. A lot of emerging companies were there. You were back towards the end, and I remember you giving me challah to dip in your Saturday sauce. Oh, it was so good. So good. Um, I knew some of the other companies were there, some under the auspices of Cornell. Were you with one of these companies?
No, so we thought about exhibiting with Startup CPG, which is an organization that we're part of. It was like right there when you enter the River Pavilion with all the emerging brands. But at the end of the day, that was like a 4-foot table option, and we needed ample space to cook because, usually when I sample my product in grocery stores, I'm doing it room temperature, but I really wanted to show people how we usually use the sauce hot when you're making a shakshuka or like stewing chickpeas with the sauce. So we actually did that every day. We sort of served something different. And I feel like it was really exciting because there were a lot of snacks being served throughout the show. But people were like coming to us and being like, thank you so much for feeding me like a proper meal with protein and like eggs and chickpeas. And so we decided to just get our own booth in the debut district through the Specialty Food Association.
Your background is in marketing. You went to Syracuse University.
Yeah.
So you had a number of years doing that. And I have to say the packaging, the website, everything's beautifully thought out.
Thank you.
And no space goes unused. Everything tells the story that this is a Middle Eastern starter sauce and can be used so many different ways. The recipe was a family recipe. Your great grandparents were Maghrebi, Tunisian Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about the family story and how the sauce came about.
Yeah, so my father's mother, so my grandmother on my father's side, her family's from Morocco, and then my grandfather on my father's side, his family's from Tunisia. They moved to Israel when it was first sort of founded as a country, and so my dad grew up eating these sort of North African flavors, whether it was like cholent or shakshuka. And so this is something that I always grew up having in my house. Some people call it a Turkish salad. Some people call it a matbucha, right? Which is like a tomato salad. And essentially it's stewed down, right? Tomatoes, onions, peppers, garlic, oil, spices. And so Saturday sauce is sort of inspired by that. It's used for shakshuka, but I actually call it Saturday sauce because it's like the Jewish version of Sunday sauce. It's used on so many different things, whether it's dipping challah or making Moroccan fish. And so I wanted to sort of showcase like this is a sauce that's so versatile for so many things and is really like a pantry essential for a Middle Eastern kitchen. And so I worked with my dad to kind of like get his recipe and update it and then obviously commercialize it to jar. And that's sort of how it was born. But it's exciting because, the jar really it sort of alludes to all of that sort of like family history and where we came from. And it's really fun that I get to honor that.
Before I forget, you have a product. What are you busy with today other than doing the show?
I have a crazy day today. Actually, I'm heading to a new store to make a delivery at Dumbo Market in Brooklyn. I am going to be doing a sampling event at the Green Grape in Fort Greene. So that's a new store that we're being shelved at. And then I have an industry event. So I am pretty much in Brooklyn throughout the day. And my days are always different now in this new space. But a lot of it is also like making hand deliveries, going to stores that we want to get into and trying to make sales. There's always marketing, operations, sales, so every day is sort of a mix and I try to kind of streamline it, but today's a specifically kind of just crazy day where it's more like in person versus being behind a computer. Except for right now.
So are you living in Brooklyn now or are you living in Manhattan?
I live in Manhattan.
Okay, so you have a little bit of a schlep here and there.
Always.
I was going to say, I have a question about your logo, which I'm going to pull up here. Is there some significance to what I call the eyeball with the lashes?
Yeah. So actually, funny thing about our label, and thank you so much for saying that you love it. I actually hand drew everything. So the evil eye basically is warding off like jealousy, right? Like evil eye, and it's sort of just like keeping you in this good space and yeah, just warding off jealousy and evil thoughts and things like that. Yeah. So I always like that as a symbol. And I think it's also a symbol for so many different cultures. So I like that. And then, yeah, I hand drew our Saturday sauce brand font because I wanted our labels to, obviously evoke what's authentic about, being a Middle Eastern brand and like our family history. But I also want it to be modern and updated and fun for today's customer. So it's a little bit more like colorful and funky and approachable than probably what you see on shelves now.
Right. The name Sababa Food really has two stories in it. One is the Hebrew name for your father, right?
So Sababa, right, is a Hebrew word, means like
Right.
all good. Also
Yes.
Abba in Hebrew is father, so it's kind of a fun play on that as well. But yeah, Sababa is just always a good word to me. I feel like, in Hebrew, people might say like, Mama Tzav, what's up? How are you? Sababa, like everything's good. It's all good. It's kind of just one of those like really good words that I always loved. And so when I was thinking of the name, it was like a no-brainer for me. This is like the first thing that popped into my head.
Well, like I said, it has two meanings. Reference to your father and meaning good and real. I know that I looked it up. Great or cool. It means great or cool.
Mm-hmm.
Found that in my notes,
Yeah.
finally. Did you have any help to bring Saturday sauce to the market. When I say that, was it just you? I know your father helped you develop the recipe, but who else? Was there somebody else, or was it just all you?
I mean, I definitely worked with a consultant. Like, I had come from a marketing background, so I
Uh,
knew nothing of the CPG world. And so, even just getting a nutrition panel and, working with an attorney to review my label and make sure everything was FDA compliant. There's so many things that you have to do in the CPG world. So, there was a bunch of people that I sort of relied on. And then, even taking my hand drawings and formatting that into a label. Like, I work with a team of sort of contractors, freelancers, right? Like a graphic designer. Because when you're trying to scale, you can't do everything by yourself. That's number
right.
one. But also, I think sometimes if you try to do things by yourself, especially in a space where you don't have a ton of expertise, like you end up paying for that down the road. So my thought process was like, let me just work with a consultant that's going to hold my hand. And I actually worked on this for about a year before it went to market, right? So it was like testing recipes at home, like literally blindfolding my dad and like giving him different tomato-based Middle Eastern starter sauces to try versus ours, and um, you know, and finding someone to produce the sauce. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. So definitely had a lot of help. But yeah, it's just me sort of right now. But of course, like relying on a support network of people that have more expertise in certain areas.
Okay. Because it is such a huge undertaking to bring a product to market. Uh, what I want to tell people is this is vegan, it's 70% organic, it's gluten free, and in reading the label, there's no sugar in it.
Hmm.
So that's not something you have to concern yourself with. It's crushed tomatoes, tomato paste, onions, green peppers, Mediterranean spices, some salt, which you need, but it's very low in the category if you look at the ingredients where you see the sodium. And it is so quick and tasty. There's
Thank
so
you.
much you can do with it.
Yeah.
Just um, that part of it, you can sit there and make a dip out of it. There are a lot of traditional Israeli recipes up on the website. And if anybody is watching this who is a caterer or restaurateur, this comes out on a food service side. So it is available and you can reach out to Amy. And it's great. It's all done for you. Everything nutritional is done and it's too sweet. Things are done tasty and quickly.
Yeah, we do a gallon format, gallon jug format, which actually, like, I had a customer buy that on my website yesterday, not a restaurant or a caterer, just a customer. I'm like, I want to know what you're making with that at home. Because each gallon is about 8 jars, so it is a savings if you buy it and you're like hosting maybe for Rosh Hashanah. I assume that's what he's doing, but we're gonna be doing 40-pound formats as well because we have an exciting food collaboration restaurant that we'll be working with soon, that we'll be announcing soon.
Oh, well, I was going to say, good collaboration. Somebody who, Ori Zohar from the Spice, I always want to say Crate and Barrel, only because that sticks in my head. Um, Burlap and Barrel.
Hmm.
They're single source spices, and they're doing a number of collaborations. And
I was eating a product yesterday and I saw on the packaging that they do the spices.
really wonderful, blow your mind spices.
Yeah.
Ori used to grow up in Baltimore, but
Oh, cool.
uh, and I used to work for a spice company, so there was a real passion there that we could talk about things.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about your family. We talked about your father. Now,
Hmm.
I read an article, everybody, uh, Amy is sort of like New York deli or New York kosher restaurant type. Um, she has a lot of links. if you've been in New York and you wanted a kosher restaurant, it was Mr.
Mr.
Big,
Broadway. Mr. Broadway
Mr.
was
Broadway,
the restaurant. Yeah.
kosher restaurant, and then 18
Mhm.
restaurant. Her husband was one of the owner in Katz's Delicatessen.
He's the only owner.
Oh, I didn't know if the other one.
No, his parents are retired now, but yeah, my husband's the owner of Katz's Deli, 135 years old now, I think. So yeah, it's people love sort of that story of not only just like Jewish food world, but also my husband comes from an Ashkenazi background. My father is, from a North African background, and so it's interesting those sort of worlds colliding food wise.
Who would have known? Who
I
would have
know.
known? Right. There are two versions of Saturday sauce. And one of them, the original one is slightly spicy, which was the first one I got into. It had a little heat. I think it's jalapeno,
It's jalapeno,
which
and
is
there's also cayenne pepper in it. The cayenne is what really brings the heat. Like jalapenos are sometimes there's no heat. There's actually there are jalapenos that you can buy called no heat jalapenos. But it's mostly the cayenne pepper that brings the heat. And it's kind of after, it's like a real sometimes people try and they're like, oh, this isn't spicy. Oh, now I'm feeling it.
right. It comes to the back of the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we basically launched we went out with our slightly spicy. Like I always grew up eating it spicy. Um, but I also recognize that spice is a very hard thing, right? Like some people love it, some people absolutely hate it. And I think when the best thing you can do right when you launch a product is start doing sampling events to get feedback from people, whether that's on the
Right.
product itself or the label. And the spice was something where a lot of people would say, oh, I love this, but I have 3 kids and we always do meals together, I can't feed this to them, or I really don't like spice, I'm super sensitive to it. So then we were like, all right, we have to come out with a mild, and we did that pretty shortly after, and people really love it. The store that I'm sampling at today only carries the mild. And the good thing about it is like you can always add some cayenne
Right.
pepper to it if you want to make it a little bit hotter. But yeah, the mild has no jalapenos and very little cayenne pepper.
What has been the most popular dish other than shashuka that people are using your sauce for?
Probably the Moroccan fish. Because again, like I think people just want convenient solutions, and this sauce is like just add eggs, just add fish, right? So a really popular way that I use it is, literally just heating up the sauce in a pan and poaching like any sort of like whitefish fillet or salmon fillets in it. And it kind of soaks up the sauce, the fish soaks up the sauce, and it still is soft and it's not dry. And it's really, really quick. I mean, like my kids eat it, you put it over rice, it's delicious. So I think that's really popular. Um, the other day I was just kind of browsing through my website and looking at like what are the recipes that people love the most. And one of them is definitely our like challah schnitzel sandwich, which is kind of known as like a Shabbat sandwich, where you take your Shabbat leftovers, right, and make a sandwich. So you take challah bread, you take your chicken schnitzel, you take your fried eggplant, you take some hummus, and then you put your Saturday sauce or your matbucha, spread that on top. Sometimes you add some pickles, and it's really delicious. It's just like a perfect bite of every little component that you want to be eating in a bite.
It sounds good. I was talking with our guest last week. He said, after the show, I'm going to have some Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm always talking food. So after the show, it's like, what can I eat?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't finish It's Just Me, the whole jar of the Saturday sauce. So I see something in its future.
Yeah.
Just putting it on the bread or making your own hummus and put this in the center,
Yeah.
just so the olive oil on it.
Yes.
And as much as I like to cook, I also like the convenient foods.
Me too.
I don't have the time to take fresh tomatoes or, okay, get canned tomatoes, but whole tomatoes to blanch them and take the skin off and yada, 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 yada. So this to let people know, the website, all this information is up here in the comments section, but it's Sababa Foods. Now there's a hyphen between Sababa and Foods. So sababa-foods.com.
Mhm.
There are YouTube videos available and Instagram, and that's Sababa underscore
Mhm.
foods. So that
Yeah.
little hyphen drops down to the bottom.
Mhm.
But that's all up there for them. It's time for us to sort of talk about, you know, uh, what's your ultimate culinary fail? Share.
Oh, it's hard. I think for me, I grew up cooking and I love cooking, and I'm just never someone that reads like directions or a recipe. And so sometimes that's my toxic trait. I'll be like hosting a dinner party and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make a focaccia tonight. And then I start actually like going through the steps and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to proof this overnight, right? But like I gotta bake it anyway. And so I do that. I've right now we're doing R&D on a new product. And I can't say what it is yet because that will, is to be announced, but was definitely a fail. And I think that's expected, right? When you're trying to make something, especially for a commercial, right? Like a commercialized process, there's a lot of trial and error and testing. And so I'm definitely going through that now. But I will say, yeah, it's probably like the fact that I'm just not a baker. I just don't really like reads. I'm more of like an ad hoc, like taste as you go kind of gal. And so
Right.
sometimes my baking creations are not the best. How about you?
Well, you heard my intro, food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker.
Oh,
Because it's a science, and there's always, my question is bundt pans. How do you get the cake out of it? Some say really better butter it and blah, blah, blah. Don't let it cool. Take it out now. There's a lot of mixed information, and I try, but every once in a while there's that bundt cake that half of it sticks in the pan.
yeah.
So that's one of mine. If you wake up tomorrow with a new talent, what would the new talent be?
Um, Probably just to be able to like teleport around, because my goal is to get Saturday sauce to as many people as possible and tasting it. And it's hard when like I'm a mom of two. I have to go to Brooklyn and then be back in New York. So I just wish that I could kind of like, I'm in stores in Texas and in Florida and in California. And like, I wish that I could sample at all these places, but it's not always feasible. So that would be a good one.
Okay. And it used to be that you could hire in different cities to people to go out and do demos.
I'd still do that, but there's nothing like doing it yourself. People always want to meet the founder. I feel like, and no one sells your product the way that you
Is-
do, right?
Right.
So right now we're in Erewhon in California, which is like a ten store grocery chain, and we hire a company out there to do sampling events for us. And it's great, but sometimes I wish I could be there. And I actually will be going out there next weekend, because their Manhattan Beach location is doing like a wellness event. So it will be not just a standard grocery store sampling event, but more of like a
Right.
larger demographic,
Correct.
larger audience. And so for that, like I want to go out and meet people and say, like, come here, meet the founder, hear my story, taste my product. So I think it's always good to show face too.
Absolutely. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it's two-part because it's sort of, I think about sort of my career trajectory and how
Right.
I went from, events, hospitality, partnerships, marketing, and I somehow ended up with a CPG brand. And it makes sense because I was always interested in food. So I think I would say follow that intuition and like your interests and passions, like really sort of follow through on that. But at the same time, you'll always end up sort of where you need to be, right? Like all of the experience that I gained in my career prior to this has helped me in this position. So it's like it's worked out regardless, I think. And so that's sort of my two-part answer.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
Right. What's the best bite you've had all week? And you cannot say Saturday sauce. We know that's the best bite, but what's the second best bite you've had all week?
I mean, just before this, I had some toast from a bakery that I live in Union Square, so I go to the farmers market here all the time, which is incredible, especially right now. I was there yesterday and it was just like um so I had some Need Love Bakery toast, which is this like delicious sourdough like gluten-free toast. I'm not gluten-free, it's just so good. With some garlic rubbed on it and some tomatoes from the farmer's market with just like olive oil and sea salt, simple. I mean, that was delicious in terms of like a home cooked meal. Um, I guess I'm thinking about Indian food now that you said it. Like my husband and I went to this restaurant in the East Village earlier this week called Adda, Adda. Incredible. Everything was like spicy and delicious. And literally every bite we had there was incredible. So I don't know. I love things with spice. I love seasonal produce, anything that's like super fresh. Like tomatoes right now are everything for me. What about you?
What about me? Well, the tomatoes, a friend gave me tomatoes and basil from their garden because it was all ending. And I had some burrata.
Mm,
So, tomatoes, burrata, basil, EVOO, some calamatri olives, some roasted red pepper, and some sherry vinegar.
delicious.
It doesn't get better than that.
No,
It's all
no.
fresh and creamy.
Yeah.
What are two musts that must be in the refrigerator?
Okay, besides Saturday sauce, which is actually
Is
always in
that
my fridge.
sure?
Um, I would say I top so many things with either like feta or labneh, whether it's like a salad or a soup. Um, so I feel like that like salty, tangy bite is always kind of necessary for me, and so that's always in the fridge. And then fresh herbs. I put fresh herbs on everything, so like I always have like dill, cilantro, parsley, mint, like some combination of those. I think those are probably like my go-tos. I mean, there's so many basic ones also. Like I'm not gonna say my kids like yogurt pouches, but um, yeah, I think those are my go-tos.
Right. There's something about opening up the refrigerator that has fresh dill in it and getting the waft of
Yeah.
that aroma. It's nothing fresher smelling to me than the dill.
I feel like you can also really liven up any dish with fresh herbs. I always put
Absolutely.
fresh parsley on my shakshuka. I just think also it visually is like a little bit more appealing than just something that's totally red.
Right. Contrast. Absolutely. All right. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
Mm, you didn't ask me what I'm going to be making with Saturday sauce on Rosh Hashanah.
Won't you share with us, please?
Um, so I touched on it a little bit earlier. Moroccan fish. I don't know if every family does this, but usually we have almost like a Rosh Hashanah Seder plate, very similar to like a Passover Seder plate. So there's leeks, there's beets, there's squash, there's black-eyed peas, there's obviously apples and honey, there's pomegranate, there's dates, and then usually there's a fish head. I don't love having the fish head on my plate. So instead, what I will be doing is using Saturday sauce to make Moroccan fish. And then one thing that I really love that my family always did growing up was this Seder plate was more than just something that was symbolic. Everything was actually delicious on it. So, like the black eyed peas weren't just like boiled black eyed peas, right? We would, make a little salad with lemon and red pepper and cumin and cilantro, and it was delicious. So symbolic, but and visually appealing, but also delicious. And then, you know, all the standard brisket, matzo ball soup, kugel things.
Honey.
Of course.
Now, with all those little dishes, is that what you would call it? A salutum?
Salatim, yeah.
Salatim.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the most delicious things about Middle Eastern cooking. And honestly, that's my favorite thing. Like when you go to an Israeli Middle Eastern restaurant, like all the little salads that they're giving you in the beginning, I always end up filling up on just that because it's so delicious, all the textures and flavors. But yeah, it's similar. Like we'll do, you know, our beets, which is also very popular, sort of like salatim item, just like beets with onions and cilantro and cumin. So like a beet salad, right? And just little plates so people just have a bit of a taste of everything. So it's kind of like that, yeah.
It's like
And
a mezza.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's a fun way to start the meal. Even when I'm making my shakshuka, like I like to have, you know, my Israeli salad on the side and a few other sort of like accoutrements because it just makes for, I don't know, a delicious bite. Like having the Moroccan carrots and having tabbouleh salad, like all of those things are so delicious.
Yep. I'm getting hungrier as we speak. Everybody, to remind you, get this at the website, Amazon.com. It's Saturday Sauce by Sababa Foods. And I want to wish Amy and her family a happy new year, Lashana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll check in with you a year from now when the new products come out.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. Happy New Year. Okay, let's see. All right. Next week's guest is Zach Mills, chef partner at True Chesapeake Restaurant. He was honored as the 2025 Chef of the Year by the Restaurant Association of Maryland. He champions sustainability and seasonality in his menus, featuring Maryland's invasive species, locally sourced ingredients, and sustainably farmed oysters from True Chesapeake Oyster Company. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at Instagram at Dara Cooks or on Facebook, The Food Enthusiast. And before I forget, to those of you celebrating the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, Lashana Tova, from me and everyone at J Moore. You can sign up for J Moore Living's free bi-monthly This Week in Baltimore Eating newsletter on their website, jmoreliving.com. All shows are immediately archived in video form on J Moore Living's Facebook page and jmoreliving.com. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and family. Feel free to go back into our archives and enjoy past shows. May your plates always remain full. Hope to see you next Thursday.